Hello, my name is Shadow Templar 591, and I'm doing another What Is video. For those who don't know what my What Is videos are, they're little first kind of impression-y beginner's guide videos that I do on a specific game. I go over what the game is like, who it's made by, graphics, actually not graphics, gameplay, story, etc. Then I also go out over price, what I think about the game, and does the game accomplish its goal if it has a larger goal than obviously being fun. So as you can see right now, I'm doing a what is video on Overlord. Overlord is made by Triumph Studios. It was and developed by and published by Codemasters. Codemasters mostly published racing games up to this point, and Triumph Studios did have another fantasy series they did, but that was mostly based on how can I put it? It was, I think, a turn-based fantasy game. I forget the name of the series, but that's pretty much what they did before. So, we'll go over the story of Overlord. The story of Overlord is pretty much you're an Overlord who has died. You're found by these actually the brown minions, so the one with the armor on, and revives back to life. At the beginning of the game, you don't have any minions, don't really have any armor to speak of. You have your base armor, and you have to go out, find your different minions, get them back under your control, find forges, get those to make better armor, and just be a terror to and a nuisance to the world. And then eventually you consolidate your power and become the true overlord of this little realm, I guess. So the gameplay is split into two parts. You have your inventory sections, as you can see, where you do combat, and then you have your, I guess, base or hub world, you would call it, where you upgrade stuff, make stuff look nice, and so on and so forth. Now, as you see, there's four types of minions. There's the brown minions, the blue minions, the red minions. There's actually green minions, but I didn't get any, but I'll go back and get some. So each of them is special. The brown minions are good at fighting. As you can see, the blue minions are good can actually swim and can actually go in water, unlike the other three types, the reds and the browns and the greens cannot. They also are, the blues are also magic immune and can revive dead minions, but they also die very easily, as you probably saw when that blue minion you might have noticed disappeared. Well, he died not to a sheep, he died to a ram. So yeah, they're very fragile. Red minions are also fragile, but they're more your ranged guys. Green minions are, I think, the least fragile of the fragile minions, if that makes any sense. And they are kind of your stealth guys. If you set up a waypoint for them, they will go in stealth mode and kind of jump guys and do stuff like that. I can show you that right now. I did have a green minion. Oh, yeah, okay, there is a green minion. I don't know why I didn't see him. So you use Q to place a way marker, and then if you wait long enough, they'll just go invisible. And then if any enemy comes by, they'll jump them. They actually jump on top of them and do stab damage. Oh, and I forgot to mention this about the red minions, but the green minions can also take away poison, so there's any poison blocking your path, they'll take care of that. The red minions will take care of any fire or anything like that. As you probably also saw, I got little orbs, colored orbs. Those is basically determines how many minions I have. The more colored orbs I have, the more minions I can summon. And then as you can see, minions can get armor. One of the ways they can get it is either from dead allies or from pots. Let's see if we find any. Yep. And they'll actually go pick it up. It is there is a system where if you hold the right key and the right and the right the right and left mouse button, you can actually kind of control and then move the mouse to control the minions, and that's used for getting over these planks. I would also use it to. I also would suggest using it for if you have a bunch of minions who don't have armor, but the rest of them do, because if you just keep clicking, eventually when you get too many of them, you'll never get to the guys who need the armor. So that's a good way of if you go that if you kind of put them over the armor, the ones that don't need it will come back to you, and the ones that do it will pick up the armor and the weapons who don't have any. I don't think there's any different base stats for the different armor and weapon. I think it pretty much is all the same. It just looks different. I think that's for the most part the basic gameplay. You get spells, so you get a base fire spell, a base kind of protection spell, and then a base for yourself. Then a base spell that helps your minions, and then I think this is another kind of, I think this is a slowing spell. So you get kind of a protection spell for you, a slowing spell against enemies, a buff to your minions, and then just a damage spell. And then you get those all the way up. You select those, and these are all default keys by the F1 through F11. WA sits to move, right click to send a minion out, left click to either recall them. You can also, as you saw, select different groups of them. You use a number key. You can use, if you have a mouse with a roll ball on it, you can use that, but then you can't select all. So another cool thing is if there's guys in, say, this wheat, like if there was a guy in this wheat and I set this on fire, he would die. So if I see a guy in wheat or grass, I can set him on fire, kill him, and not even have to worry about him. So that's one cool thing, especially since this game is actually from 2007, so this is an old game, so if it doesn't look really great, that's one of the reasons. Another reason I think is that this is their first, both Codemasters and Triumph Studios kind of foray into this type of game. It's really kind of a critique, like not a critique like a serious critique, but a kind of haha making funny of the fantasy genre, which I really enjoyed. And then you can also find these are called pits. These are what you gain minions from and you can send them back in. So if you want a bunch of fire minions, you can get them. If you want a bunch of brown minions, you can do that. Another thing that the game doesn't really tell you, but sometimes enemies will spawn from houses like these, and you guys can actually go in there, destroy them, you get items from it, and then make sure that the enemies don't spawn. They'll also get gold, which is another thing you can use to build stuff and make your tower look really nice, and that'll be the second part I will show. So if you're stuck and wondering why there's a bunch of guys spawning, or kind of where you should go next, check the different buildings. Like, because a lot of times this game won't actually tell you. There will no, this is kind of based on almost a single player MMO experience, but you won't have the giant arrow on top of your head saying, "Hey, go here." You'll have just something saying, "Oh, hey, there's a mission in this vicinity, in this area. You should probably go try to figure out where it is." One of the things a couple things I don't like, that seem just kind of, I don't know if it's just inexperience or laziness, but a lot of buildings, so eventually you go to a brewery. So there's two parts of the brewery, and instead of labeling the pot one of the brewery one thing and part two another, they had for the part two of the brewery the little like two in the parentheses, like that you see if you try to save something at the same name but don't want to overwrite it, which I just feel is really lazy and kind of unprofessional, and I don't know why they did that. We're gonna get attacked by rats. Ah, okay, and I can even show off the fire minions. Awesome. I don't know where I got gold from, but okay, I'll take it. And then the numbers over the minions' heads basically just tell you, hey, this is a number of minions attacking that target. So, Jesus, this might take a little while for the fire. For one fire minion to take it all out. So that's that. You'll find little items like this, treasure, other they're called objects. I think they're trying to make fun of the mystical MacGuffins that you have to find that increase your health and mana in other games. So in this game they just call them objects. You can find them. You can find other objects that basically give you new spells. That's how you get all those other spells. You have to actually find them in the world. That you don't get them by questing the game, which is kind of nice because it kind of lets you set your own I don't want to say pace, but your own difficulty level of the game. So if you want it to be really difficult, you can just try to rush through it. But if you want to be it really hard, then you or really hard, then you don't get all that stuff. But if you want to be really easy, you're methodical. The only and that's the idea in theory. I would say the game kind of falls short, except the last boss battle, and even then, once you kind of figure out the I want to say gimmick behind that, it kind of becomes the same thing of it's really just getting a bunch of minions, figuring out really what's the advantage. Kind of if you're on a cliff, okay, maybe I should use green minions so they can jump on the minions lower and just do a whole bunch of damage, or use my red minions and just scorch them from far away, and just massing those, doing that, swapping them out, getting them back in. That said, that does cause a lot of backtracking, and I really wish they would have, in this game, would have implemented a sprint button, because there isn't one, and I don't really know why. There also isn't a dodge button. Basically, you just have space, which just gives your Overlord a three combo kind of three hit combo he can do, and that's really it. Besides the spells you can do. As you saw, there was a 5 over this. This means to move this object, I need at least 5 minions. You can get more, and the more minions you put on an object, it'll make the job go quicker. Some of them you can't. There'll be some little, I don't know if they're called levers, but the little turnstile kind of levers like this. They only can take 4. You can't put any more. So, and those are usually for short bridges. So they're gonna bring that back. And unfortunately, just like the AI for the minions isn't really good, so you have to go back with them, or you might get some of them. Some of them might find their way back, but a lot of times they'll just kind of get stuck there and won't come back to you, especially if you're really far away. Which is, once again, without a fast track system or a sprint button that kind of chews up a lot of time. I feel a lot of unnecessary time that could be used further in the game. And that's really it for the gameplay. I would definitely say it's the weakest part of this game. There are cool little things you can do in the gameplay. Like I said, if you see a guy in some weed or some grass, you can set on fire. But besides stuff like that, it's really kind of like I stated before, just massing minions, which is kind of, I kind of feel bad because I want to like this game a lot more, because it's got a lot of charm and humor, but the combat just falls so far below. And I know in Rising there's an expansion to this called Rising Hell, and I know that did good. And there's a sequel called Overlord 2 that I know did not as well as the expansion, but did pretty well. Before I go back to the title, I'm just gonna show one more gameplay thing. So this gives me this. If you hit the tab, it'll give you a list of how many minions you have under your control right now, how many you have in total, your quests. I won't hit view all quests because spoilers. Your gold, your corruption, which basically that's how eviler that you are. So you're naturally, since you're an overlord, you're evil. But basically, and this is once again where the game kind of falls short. And not only this game, but a lot of games that have this dual kind of, either in this case be evil or really evil, is you're evil, you're just plain evil. It's basically being kind of like the Romans and just subjugating everyone to your will, or being like Genghis Khan and the Mongols, and the more evil is basically that of you being Genghis Khan and just wiping everyone out who just doesn't just immediately prostrate themselves to your will. So it's kind of cool. Another thing that does is affects the atmosphere around your tower. So the more evil you are, the more corruption you have. The tower won't be, the skyline won't be bright blue. It'll be more dark. You know, you're more foreboding, stereotypical evil-looking tower. You'll actually do your armor change. Your armor won't be this kind of bluish silver. It'll be more of a dark, really dark black with more spikes coming out of you. You actually also do more damage. So there's really no reason not to be eviler. I just decided to not be, just to, because I knew I was gonna go get all the magical MacGuffins and everything and make it pretty easy. So I wanted at least a little challenge. So that's one of the things I didn't do. So we'll go back to the tower. This has the other half of the gameplay. And that's basically what you do, is you just go from area to area getting quests. The storyline is kind of, the quests fit into the storyline, but they're kind of haphazardly at the end. It kind of ties it does at the final boss battle. They do tie everything up together, but it's kind of just like, it's almost they realized, oh, we've just kind of been stringing the player all along all this time. We need to hastily bring this back, and they do, but I kind of wish they would have paced it out better instead of kind of dumping it at the end. And even then, it's kind of like, I guess it makes sense. So there's 4 different areas. I'm only going to search you 3 because the third one has spoilers for the final battle. So right here. And that just all. So this is a dungeon, and basically, he told us, if you saw the guy on the right when we first came, he's kind of the guy, our main minion, who kind of walks us through of how to be an overlord. And this is basically, that's what the dungeon is. You come here to face any minions any enemies you've already defeated. You can try to face them again with your minions. Once again, since I didn't find the combat that hard or engaging, I didn't really use this. You can, as I was saying before, that Jester will change things he says depending on the quest lines and the things you choose to do and not to do. That is your mistress, and we're gonna go up to her quarters and yours. This is her quarters. It looks like this. You should actually at some point get to choose your mistress. You get a choice in the matter. That is her room. You really, for the most part, don't do anything in her room. There is, I think it was a clumsy metaphor for you and her touching butts, but I'm not really sure. It was a weird cutscene of when you finally buy everything for up here. So I don't know what that was all about, I'm gonna be honest. This is your treasure room. The reason I went here is, the cool thing is, the more gold you have, this will actually fill up, and it'll have, right now you see a gold plate and a chalice and a bag full of rubies, but if you have a lot of gold, you'll have treasure chests open and stuff like that. Or if you have a little, you'll just see this, like, kind of like this little pile just there in the middle of the floor. So I thought that was really cool that they added that in. And that's kind of the frustrating part of this game. There's a lot of really interesting parts, but they're spaced out by a lot of not so interesting parts. So here's where you can choose your different things. You can, as it says, tile customization. Right now, you can only choose the banners because I bought everything. If you saw those statues and the rug and... Oh, that's not what I want to hit. And the statues by my throne, the carpet going up to my throne, and the statues lining the hallway. Those are all I bought. There's not a lot of things you can buy, and that's another point. That was really, I like that customization, but there's not enough of it. It just seems... And then we're gonna go into the army. It just seems like stuff that there should be more of, there isn't, and stuff there shouldn't be more of, there is. And it really stinks. I really wish it was the opposite, because I would like this game a lot more. Not to say I don't, but the grind is real when it comes to the combat. So you actually find these different forges, all three of them, and you can forge new weapons. So the highest is Arcanium, which I have for my helmet and my armor. I don't have it for my mace because I think that's 5,000, so I need a little more for that. That basically for your weapons makes you do more damage for... That's the forger that you saw at the beginning. Giblet is forger's name that you saw at the beginning, and where we passed him on the left. You can also actually upgrade your weapons, which is really cool because, let's see, if you hit accept, so you can actually throw your minions into this, and it'll do different things. Increase damage, add magic, increase the power strike. I think that's basically the third attack in the combo, and then add an extra kick. Okay. So that's I thought that was really cool, but I would suggest not doing that just because at certain points you're gonna lose a lot of minions, and it's gonna stink to have to go back to an area, kind of grind for enough souls for the minions, get them, and then come back. Not to say there aren't enough spots to do that, or there's not enough monsters on the way. It's just, once again, because there's not really good backtracking, there's no sprint, that's kind of wasted time, I feel. This is Giblet, and then you can go here and just, if you bought, and just change your armor, just in case. If you like the old armor, or if you like the new. So, oh, this is your original armor get up. I didn't get them, and that's another thing I would suggest is just, you don't really need to get the medium. Just wait till you get the last armor set, and you'll be fine. Now, helmets. Arcanium armor. Okay. I was wondering what was going on there. And that's really it for the tower. And that's really it for this game. It's not a long game. What's there in terms of the humor is really funny. And there's little cool lines like that. The only problem is, when you go by, if you go by certain groups or NPCs in a village or in a specific place, they'll have one-liners. The problem is they keep repeating it, so you'll hear, if you go through an area, you'll hear the same line by the same person 10 times, and it's just like, shut up, dude. I don't know if that's purposely for the game to just try to get you to kill them and be evil just to get them to shut up, or what it is, but I had to stop myself various times from not killing them. It was really hard. The music is okay. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the little medals. Actually, I'm gonna just go up here, so he'll shut up. But that's the thing about the music. It only plays in certain spots, and I don't know if that's because it's supposed to, or if that's a glitch with the game, the Steam version, as opposed to the regular, and why that does that. Also, you can't, and I don't know why games have been doing this, but you can't change. This is, I think, the second or third game I play like this, and I don't know why they do this. You can't change the controls from inside the game. You have to either back out of the game completely, or when you restart the game, you have to go into there's a tool launcher you have to launch before you launch the game. I played Hotline Miami, and that you can't, inside the mission, you can't change it. You can change it inside the game, which is nice, but still, I shouldn't have to. I don't know if it's why it seems so hard for developers to put an in-game screen that I can, inside the actual, when I'm in a mission or when I'm actually playing the game, to bind the different keys. I don't know why that's so difficult. I don't know if it's a memory thing, if it's a scripting thing, or whatever. I'll give this game a little pass because it's almost 10 years old, but Hotline Miami, no excuse. I don't know why they did that. I got this game, we're going to talk about price now. I got this game currently 75% up. I got it for $2. For $2, I think I got my money's worth of that. If you paid, I would say, more than $5 really, I would say you might be paying a little much. It is a short game despite all the complaints about the backtracking and everything I spoke of. So in my really final estimation of this game is, what's funny is good, the lines are good, the humor is good, the story is kind of tacked on, but the little interactions you have with the